We have a new tournament that's launched, ladies and gentlemen. The Pomeranian Butt Superflex is now live. So if you like Superflex drafts, this is the one for you. This is the $3 buy-in on Underdog, $200,000 prize pool. First place prize, $30,000. 0% rake as well, which is awesome. We may get into a Superflex draft later on in this live stream, but for now, we are going to be hopping into a Ball Mania. This is the $25 buy-in, $15 million prize pool on Underdog. I would say definitely try out some of the lower buy-ins if you're new to Underdog. I'd say get in like the $3 Pomeranian Superflex or the $5 Slow Puppy. But if you are used to Underdog Fantasy and you've gotten into some of these drafts before, this is obviously the big daddy, right? I mean, this is the one that has $3 million to first place, which hopefully we are going to be able to take down and win this year. But let's get this going. We are at pick 7. Ladies and gentlemen, so y'all know pretty much every single night on the live stream over the past week, we've either been at the beginning of the first round or pick like 11 or 12. It's the first time in a long time that we are in the middle of the draft. So you're going to be excited to see how this team ends up. And let's see, we have Austin in here at 101. Love to see it. And we have JRV in here at pick 2. We got Riley out here. Happy to see you, my man. We have, let's see, Prod out here at pick 10. Yes, you love to see it. You love to see it. We got Jared out here at pick 8. Kyle in here at pick 4. Oh, this is a beautiful spot, ladies and gentlemen. James in here with us at 6. Thank you so much for everybody coming out and hanging out with us in this live stream. Really, really do appreciate y'all. And we got Coy Brandon in here at 5. So we have a ton of people in this draft. Now, Jefferson Chase off the board 1 and 2. Y'all know we've been mixing it up here a little bit at pick 7. We may end up going with our guy, may end up going with the guy that we want to be rooting for, of course. But we have Cup off the board at 3. Now, I would have taken Cooper Kupp if he would have fallen. CMC goes 4. Okay, Alpaca coming out says pick 11, Prestige Worldwide. Okay, well, good luck, my man. Good luck, good luck. Now, okay, Tyreek Hill off the board at 5. Austin Eckler goes. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to reach on Bijan Robinson here. With Bijan, I don't necessarily think that everybody else needs to start taking him this early, right? I mean, it's super simple. Even if I think maybe Diggs is a little bit of a better pick for this format. At the end of the day, I'm a former Texas Longhorn. I interviewed him at the NFL draft. I ran into him at the gym last week. So I want to have fun in fantasy football this year. And part of having fun in fantasy football is taking guys that you want to root for. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Bijan Robinson here. But let's see. Office says, what type of draft is this? Not Dynasty, right? Yeah, no, this is going to be a Underdog best ball draft. So best balls, no time commitment at all during the year. No waiver wire moves. So we're going to go like 18 rounds deep. I mean, you're going to see guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire getting drafted. And also you're not submitting your starting lineup through the course of the season. Your best potential starting lineup is automatically being submitted for you at the end of every single week. So if you randomly have a guy like Tim Patrick popping off, he'll actually slide into your starting lineup that week. So with it being no time commitment at all during the year, that's how I drafted 700 teams and won $150,000 last season on Underdog. And of course, if you want to get no draft with us on Underdog, my friend, we're doing this literally every single day on the live stream. Will not miss a day until 2024. You can find the link in the live chat in the description in the comment section. If you sign up to Underdog with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You will also get our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com, and it's available in damn near every state as well. You can see all the states that Underdog is available here. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Jonathan Taylor. I understand a lot of people are really worried about the offense that you have in Indianapolis. I get it. I mean, I kind of understand why. But if you're looking at like player props right now and seeing how damn high they have Jonathan Taylor up, they have Taylor at 1,200 rushing yards, 8.5 rushing touchdowns. The only running back that is higher in terms of his rushing yardage prop than Jonathan Taylor on Underdog is actually going to be Derrick Henry. Keep in mind, Jonathan Taylor also had over a 10% team target share last year on his rookie deal. I'm completely fine taking Jonathan Taylor in the middle of round 2. But just Sherman coming out says Najee, DJ Moore, and 2 future first or Justin Jefferson in a Dynasty Superflex format. If you're rebuilding, I think if you can parlay DJ Moore and Najee Harris into other future first, I think it makes sense to go ahead and take that package. But let's see. Devonta Smith off the board at 21. I'm sorry. Let me roll my chair over 1 second. I got to turn this fan on. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. I know you missed us. Saquon Barkley off the board at 23. I mean, imagine if we would have had Barkley making it to us in the third. Has anybody seen Saquon Barkley fall to the third round yet? Has anybody seen Barkley fall to the third since you've had the worries about the Giants not giving him his extension? Let me know, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know. In BF, I have a lot of Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor at this point must be closing in on my most drafted back. And honestly, I'm not even going to be upset with you if you look at the player prop on Underdog and you go, Mason, you know what? Taylor is pretty damn aggressive here. I would rather take Nick Chubb to have more receiving yards than Jonathan Taylor. Like, if you wanted to do that, sure. Or if you wanted to say, well, you know what, Mason? I think instead Bijan Robinson's going to have more rushing touchdowns than Jonathan Taylor. If you wanted to have one of those lines, then sure, go for it. My thing is Jonathan Taylor, we've seen have a larger role as a pass catcher than those other guys. So, I mean, I'm going to personally have a hard time passing on him. Okay. RM says he has seen Barkley fall to 33. Luke Skywalking's seen him fall down to pick 29. Coy says he saw Barkley fall to the 301. 301? Dear God, yeah. I will continue to take a lot of Jonathan Taylor and a lot of Saquon Barkley, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, let's move this back around. Very interesting to see Jacobs falling this far as well. Let's see what this team decides to do. They go Josh Jacobs. Do we pull the trigger on Breece Hall and go with a hyper? Let's do it. We did this in the $1,000 underdog draft that we had. Very rarely would I recommend someone to build their team this way. I think that now with the running back values you can get later on in underdog drafts, it's not too smart to be passing on wide receivers here at the beginning, but we made it work previously. Before we ramp up for those high stakes drafts, once we get closer to NFL kickoff, y'all know we're going to be doing a lot of $250 drafts. I want to get as much practice as I can in here. We also have that team next to us who starts 3 running backs in a row as well with Eckler, Pollard, Jacobs. So I think this can be a fun way to start. But K Squared Golf says, I got Josh Allen right before the 3-4 turn twice today. He will not be going that late in any drafts that I am in, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be taking Josh Allen at the beginning of the 3rd round if I can. But now we have Deebo Samuel off the board at 35. Tommy Knows coming out of the donation says, are you worried at all about a running back strike? Thought crossed my mind, and then I see Eckler scheduled a meeting with the top running backs in the league. The thing is, you know how I typically draft my teams is looking at historical data, trying to figure out the probabilities of things happening going forward. That is something that I have a very difficult time putting a probability attached to. And I don't know exactly how much leverage these guys actually have. So personally, I am not worried about all running backs in the NFL going on strike or anything. Now, would be interesting, but I'm not drafting fantasy football teams thinking about that, to be honest with you. Okay. But let's move this back over. Gibbs off the board, pick 39. Jerry Jeudy goes 40. This team went Diggs, Olave, Ridley out the gate. Okay. They go Joe Mixon. That's great for us. We're actually going to get Christian Watson falling to us as our wide receiver 1. Christian Watson, 2.6 yards per route run this past season. That was top 7 in the NFL, only behind elite level guys such as Cooper Kupp, I mean, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I mean, Christian Watson was a straight up stud last year. Obviously, very difficult to know exactly what you're going to have in terms of the quarterback play in Green Bay. I think that's going to be a massive question mark. But at the same time, I mean, that's the reason why we're getting him here as a mid-wide receiver too, right? That's why he's not necessarily going as high as Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. Okay. Well, let's move this over. And the team right after us going Drake London. So they have a very similar build to ours as well. Going 3 running backs out the gate and then grabbing their first wide receiver in round 4. Like I said, this is something that I've not done very often, but what's kind of funny is if you go back and look at what won the first Best Ball Mania on Underdog Fantasy, it was a hyper fragile build where they went through and they took running backs out the gate, just went RB, 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 loaded up on a bunch of wide receivers later on. I think it's going to be much more difficult to find that as a winning strategy this season on Underdog, just given the fact that these running back values in the later rounds, in my mind, are much more compelling than the wide receiver values. But I see Bush Sports out here saying he loves it. Yeah, Bush Sports was in the live stream the other day telling us that he wanted us to try some more 3 running back starts. And that's the best thing in my mind about Underdog. I know a lot of people can't do this with like the $25 buy-ins. Obviously, I'm very lucky to be able to. But like with, say, the $5 buy-in on Underdog or the $3 buy-in, it's like the perfect place to go ahead and have some fun and try out some different strategies. That way, if you have like your league that you really care about that you're going to be focusing it on this season, you can get ready for that draft and feel very prepared going into it with a multitude of different strategies that you've tried out. Okay, now DJ Moore, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins all off the board. Obviously, it would have been beautiful to have one of those wide receivers to make it back around to us at Big 55. Just highly unlikely that you're going to get one of those wide receivers, right? Highly unlikely. Okay. Let's move this over. MBF says, where do you think a good destination would be for Saquon Barkley if the Giants don't sign him? My understanding of the situation is Barkley either plays this next season with the New York Giants or he doesn't play, right? That's my assumption. Xander says, will you ever put out redraft rankings on Flock Fantasy? Yeah, the redraft rankings are live now, my friend. They're under 2023 rankings. Yeah, if you go to flockfantasy.com, you can see our 2023 fantasy football rankings, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, if y'all want a free trial to flockfantasy.com, just sign up to Underdog with promo code FLOCK. And I need to tell y'all this more often. I know that I do a bad job explaining this, but if you are a member of flockfantasy.com and Underdog Fantasy, go to your Flock Fantasy account page, put in your Underdog username. There'll be a spot for you to do it there, and you will automatically get an extra $10 added into your Underdog account. So if you're a paid member of flockfantasy.com, go to that account page, put in your Underdog username, and that's on top of everything. That's on top of you getting the 100% deposit match and all that stuff. You get just an extra $10 added into your account. I need to start saying that more often. I know we don't. But yeah, we're going to go Chris Godwin, pick 55. I understand a lot of people are going Deontay Johnson instead. Hell, I mean, I kind of prefer Chris Godwin here. JRV says, I got my $10 bonus. Hell yes, my friend. I worked my ass off to get y'all that $10 bonus. So please, if you are a member of flockfantasy.com, go to your account page, put in that username. And also, if you are signed up to Underdog Fantasy with promo code FLOCK, and you are a paid member of flockfantasy.com as well, if you have not gotten your exclusive Flock/Underdog merch, please reach out to me and let me know. We still have shirts to give away, and it's completely free if you're a member of flockfantasy.com and you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. What I need from you is just to reach out to me, ask for the Google form. You can fill out that stuff there. We have smalls, mediums, larges, and extra larges for everybody there. But Travis says, I got my bonus and 30% off. Yes, flockfantasy.com. Use promo code FLOCK on flockfantasy.com. You get 30% off. I'm sorry to be annoying with all that, ladies and gentlemen, but I don't do a good enough job explaining it. Now, Lawrence goes off the board there at pick 61. Alexander Madison off 62. Obviously, selfishly, what we're wanting to see is we're wanting to see as many running backs get drafted as possible at this point. Joey says, I could never find the link. I don't know where to find it in the Discord. I just message me if you cannot find the link to get your Flock Fantasy shirt, my friend. Message me if you're having a hard time. I'd be happy to set you up with everything. Pittman goes, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Mike Evans here. I mean, this is one of the reasons why we take Chris Godwin round 5 is to set ourselves up with the ability to go with Mike Evans in round 6. In general, I like Mike Evans in comparison to the other wide receivers in this range. Y'all know we've called Kadarius Toney the worst pick in fantasy football going in round 6. And surprise to everybody, Kadarius Toney tweaks his knee, and Kadarius Toney is currently dealing with an injury in Kansas City. I would have never guessed. I'm sure you would have never guessed. And I am sure that a lot of people are, I don't know. A lot of people are crying that have been drafting Kadarius Toney in round 6 all offseason, which God knows why they've been doing that. Personally, as someone who's drafted a lot of Rashee Rice, Marquez Valdez-Scantling at an extreme discount, it is what it is. It is what it is. But once you go Godwin, Mike Evans here, round 5, round 6, we do kind of make that consolidated bet that maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers passing offense is better than people expect. So it does we do set ourselves up with a position to possibly take take Baker Mayfield round 18. Okay. Pepper says, Mason, noticed you don't look for playoff stacks. Why not? We won multiple tournaments on Underdog last year, not focusing in on playoff stacks. I think that if you look at every variable that you need to be getting right in these Underdog drafts, trying to get bringbacks for week 17 is going to be one of the least important things. Like, we literally spent 0 time focusing in on that last season. I won the Big Dog tournament. I won the Bulldog 2 tournament. We got 16th place in Best Ball Mania. I think trying to find values where you can, making a roster construction work, building in correlation overall in your lineup, and not necessarily focusing in on individual week 17 or 16 bringbacks. Those are going to be the most important things in my mind. Okay. Dallas Goedert off the board, 76. You know, I'd have been very excited to have Dallas Goedert make it to us at 79. DeAndre Swift goes 77. Let's see what Captio J does. Took Jahan Dotson in the last round. They go Darren Waller, so we're going to go ahead and take George Pickens. Yes, we are going George Pickens over Kadarius Toney. I know a lot of people probably don't like to see that. I understand Kadarius Toney is a much better offense, but it is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. What do you want from me? I think George Pickens is a better player. Mike coming out says, a 12-team app PPR 3 wide receiver double flex keeper league. Jefferson, Chase, Cup, kept. Should I go CMC with the first pick? We have Garrett Wilson as well as a keeper. 100%. Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to be able to grab Jefferson, Chase, or Cooper Kupp, I think Christian McCaffrey is definitely in play. I think Tyreek Hill also is, considering that you can start up to 5 wide receivers in that format. So I think it's going to be up to what you expect in terms of middle round values on if you're going to be able to grab wide receivers or running backs at a value. If you think you can grab middle round wide receiver values, I would take Kupp over Tyreek. In that format in particular, I wouldn't fault you at all for going Tyreek Hill over CMC though. Okay. Now you have Elijah Moore, Brandon Cooks off the board, 82-83. I feel like for a team that went 3 running backs in a row out the gate here with Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, I feel like we're not horrible at wide receiver with Christian Watson, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, George Pickens. Obviously not the typical start. Obviously nothing that we're jumping up and down excited about. But I think we're fine with it. Okay. Let's move this over. Javonte Williams off the board there at 85. This may end up being very exciting for us, ladies and gentlemen. So if we take a running back here, it will be our last running back in the draft. I think when you start 3 running backs in a row, you're more likely to lean with a 4 running back approach with your build. Slushy says I have 29% Rashee Rice out of 73 drafts. Let me pull up Underdog and see how much Rashee Rice I have, my friend. I believe, Rice as my most drafted Chiefs wide receiver. Yeah. My most drafted Chiefs players are Rashee Rice, Isaiah Pacheco, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. My entire take with the Kansas City Chiefs is I think that everything's pretty much up in the air. I don't necessarily think that this depth chart is anything close to being resolved. So generally in these drafts, I'm just going ahead and taking the cheapest option where I can. Okay. So Zay Flowers has jumped Rashad Bateman in ADP, which is interesting to point out. Cortland Sutton off the board at 88. JBL went Mixon, Aaron Jones, James Conner, Stephon Diggs, Chris Olave, Calvin Ridley, Michael Pittman. So they're sitting with the same 3 running back, 4 wide receiver start that we have. They just essentially have much better wide receivers and we have much better running backs. Okay. They go Kamara, and I know I've been talking trash on Kadarius Toney for God knows how long. Like, round 6, he's the worst pick in fantasy football. But when I'm desperate for a wide receiver, and instead we can get him in the middle around 8, whereas the majority of the rest of the field drafted him in the middle around 6, I will balance my exposures a bit. We will take Kadarius Toney here. And please don't scream at me for being a hypocrite. Still not drafting him at his ADP. Y'all have watched me all offseason. But we started 3 running backs in a row. We're desperate for wide receiver. I drafted like literally 0 Kadarius Toney all offseason. Let's go ahead. Let's pull the trigger here at pick 90. I mean, going next to Zay Flowers, Michael Thomas, I think this is a reasonable price. My issue with Toney is when he's going in the middle of round 6, next to Michael Pittman, Tyler Lockett, Mike Evans, that's where I have the major issue with Toney. That's where I have the major issue. Okay. Now, Dalvin Cook off the board at 93. I actually do not mind this team at all. Like at the beginning of the offseason, I was just thinking, okay, you have to grab your wide receiver round 1. If you don't grab your wide receiver round 1 and 2, then you're just toast. But I've kind of been liking these teams. Like this is the same approach that we had with our $1,000 draft on Underdog as well. Now, where we're stuck in a little bit of a tough spot is we have 0 quarterbacks, 0 tight ends. So if we continue to pass on these positions, we will be forced in a direction to take 3 quarterbacks as well as 3 tight ends, which is not necessarily something that we're wanting to do, right? I mean, generally, I'm trying to only spend 5 total roster spots on the combination of quarterback and tight end, but I don't know. Sky Moore goes 97. I definitely was going to be looking at Sky Moore here if we could have got him at 103 and essentially made that consolidated bet on the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver core. I mean, that could have worked out a couple different ways. One, Chiefs offense just leads the NFL in passing yards. Both guys could have hit. Or maybe Travis Kelce goes down. Then both guys can hit as well. But it is what it is. Ghost says, is this Best Ball Mania or weekly? This is Best Ball Mania, my friend. And next draft that we get into, we can either do a Best Ball Mania, we can do a weekly, we can do a Superflex, we can do whatever the hell y'all want. So we are going to draft the rest of this. Then I'll ask y'all in the live chat what y'all want to see next. And I'm just going to listen to y'all. You say jump, I ask how high. And yes, of course, if y'all want another draft after this one, go down there and drop a like. We'll get that next draft going when we hit 350 likes on this live stream. And of course, if you want to get into our next draft, we're doing this every single day on this live stream. I have not missed a day since April. And if you sign up with promo code FLOCK to Underdog Fantasy, you're going to get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Plus, you will get our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com, and have some fun getting into some drafts with us. Ooh, sorry about that. This is where Underdog is available in. Now, James Cook off the board, a little bit of a tough spot for us. We could go Anthony Richardson and only take 2 quarterbacks through the rest of this draft. But I really do want to put ourselves in a position to possibly take Baker Mayfield later on. So if we want to take Baker Mayfield later on, I think maybe we're better off with the 3 quarterback approach regardless. So what I may do here is take A.J. Dillon as the last running back in this tier and then essentially be done drafting running backs and only have 4 RBs total and go with that hyper fragile approach. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go 4 running backs. 5 wide receivers out the gate through the first 9 rounds. Super weird team. But yeah, running back, we have Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, A.J. Dillon off 103. Then wide receiver, we have Christian Watson, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, George Pickens, Kadarius Toney. I think at this point, we are kind of pot committed to going 3 quarterbacks as well as 3 tight ends. I would have gone with David Njoku here if I thought there was a possibility we could have had Pat Freiermuth on the way back around, essentially locking ourselves up with only a 2 tight end start, but I don't know. It's weird. Nathan says, always so terrified to run with only 4 RBs. I mean, it lowers your floor, definitely. Like, it will lower your advance rate, but if we're trying to just optimize to try to have the highest ceiling possible in weeks 15, 16, 17, there is merit in only drafting 4 running backs with certain builds, right? So yeah, let's go QB, wide receiver, tight end through the rest of this draft. And in terms of wide receivers we can be looking at, Tua falls to a certain point. Maybe we just have to draft him. Anthony Richardson obviously makes sense with Jonathan Taylor. We already made that bet that offense is decent. Kirk Cousins, we don't have any Vikings. I guess we could go Osborne later on, but I probably wouldn't take Cousins at 114. Daniel Jones has some rushing upside. I think you can always get away with taking Daniel Jones and a Giants wide receiver later. Aaron Rodgers, we do have Breece Hall. Obviously, Hall involved as a receiver, so maybe we make that argument, but I don't think that would be until round 11. Goff, we have no Lions. We can't really take Lions later on. Russ, we have no Broncos. I don't know if we're excited to take Broncos later on. So I think in the immediate short term, these would be the quarterbacks based off our team so far that we'd be interested in. But we'll see what happens in front of us. We'll see what happens in front. Khalil Herbert off the board at 112. Okay, Anthony Richardson goes. So I was really hoping Anthony Richardson was going to make it back around. But let's take Lazard here. Lazard falls a little bit past ADP. We can pair him up with Breece Hall. It will make Aaron Rodgers on the way back around that much more appealing, considering the fact that we can pair up Breece Hall, Allen Lazard, and Aaron Rodgers, and essentially make that one bet that the New York Jets are better than people expect, that maybe Aaron Rodgers can get back to his 2021 play. But we'll see. We'll see. But let's move this down, ladies and gentlemen. Still, through 10 rounds, 0 quarterbacks, 0 tight ends. 0 quarterbacks. But let me squatch. It says newly subbed, and this is the first stream I've caught live. This man is an absolute fantasy machine. Thanks for all the content. No, thank you so much, my man, for coming out and hanging out with us in the live stream. Hopefully, you are out here very often with us. I mean, we are live streaming every single day until 2024. Last year, we live streamed every single day for like 200 days in a row. Bush Sports coming out says, was always disappointed about my results last year, but I just realized that I got 68th out of 111,000, 30th out of 28,000, which helps my confidence. Yeah. The crazy thing is with these drafts, right, is there's just so much variance in the final 3 weeks that a lot of people think that you should just go ahead and optimize it for it. But there's so much variance and so much randomness. It's almost like, how many teams can you get to the last week? Because anything can happen in an individual week. And if you can have a lot of teams showing up to that dance, one year you'll be 80th in a tournament, and the next year you'll be first. You know, like we were super, super, super lucky last year to win multiple tournaments. Like, I want to make sure that everybody understands. Like last year, y'all know I will brag for the end of time that we had better results than anybody, won multiple high stakes tournaments, the only person to do so. But I will also be the first person to admit that I'm an idiot. I got very, very, very lucky, and most likely it's not happening again. Like, I think last year we spent 10 to 15,000 in drafts and won 150,000. So expectation is if everything balances out, we lose the next 9 seasons. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to take Rodgers here as our first QB. We're going to pair him with Breece Hall as well as Allen Lazard. Definitely would have preferred to go ahead and get Anthony Richardson in the last round instead of Allen Lazard. And if we would have had Anthony Richardson in round 10, I'm unsure if we would have gone Aaron Rodgers in round 11. But it is what it is, right? It is what it is. Okay. Now Myers goes 128, Russell Wilson 129. Like I said, I kind of want to set ourselves up with the ability to take Baker. This may be a draft of the last 2 rounds. I go quarterback, and go like Baker, Lance. Or Lance Baker, whatever the hell it is. Okay. So Chig off the board there, 132, or I'm sorry, the second-year tight end in Tennessee off the board. I don't want to mispronounce it. Okay. Let's see. So Goff is a player that probably doesn't make a lot of sense. So going back to what we were talking about previously, we were just quarterback, wide receiver, tight end from here on out. When we have Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, A.J. Dillon, we're most likely done drafting running backs. Gallup goes 134. Bigsby 135. Great for us to see running backs go. It's what we want to see, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Chris says, did you do any best balls in 2021? Yeah, the majority of 2021, we actually did private drafts. We did sit and goes on Underdog Fantasy, so not the tournament, like the individual contest. And I had a ton of success in those, but they're just not as exciting, right? Because if you win like your regular 12-team league, that's like a $3 buy-in, you win like $30. Whereas if you're looking at these tournaments where the upside is just unbelievable, it's a little more exciting to do these. So what do we want to do here? Okay, I have literally no idea. I wanted a tight end. Do we panic pick Higbee? I think we do it. I know a lot of people, including Bush Sports out here, really like Van Jefferson. My thing with Van Jefferson is we already have 6 wide receivers. I do want to set ourselves up with the ability to go wide receivers a little bit later on. And the thing is, Van Jefferson in Best Ball Mania drafts a long time ago was being drafted 4 rounds after this. So even if Van Jefferson has some massive season, at the end of the day, was still maybe be getting outkicked from some other Van Jefferson teams. Now, seeing Rashee Rice go off the board here, 140, is very painful. I was hoping we would get Rashee Rice on the way back around. 151, that's a player that I drafted way more than Kadarius Toney, and I would like to pair them up on the same team in general, especially if we could have done so at a value, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Alex says, Higbee will outscore Jefferson. First off, love the sparkling water avatar, my friend. Love to see it. Second off, yeah, I think that in this range in general, you can see a lot of these tight ends outscoring the wide receivers getting drafted. So, I mean, this is about the range where I'm trying to grab some tight ends and in general trying to avoid some of those wide receivers. Like, I don't love the wide receiver price point that you have here, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Now we are quarterback, wide receiver, tight end still through the rest of this draft. Not looking at those RBs. So Kyler always in play for me, even if we don't have any Arizona Cardinals, because I think with Kyler Murray, you can have a little bit of a unique build in the fantasy football playoff tournament if you sneak him through, if he starts off the season injured, as well as the fact that with Kyler Murray, I mean, you can see some spike weeks just based off the rushing upside that he has. You don't necessarily have to have like a massive Hollywood Brown game to have a massive Kyler Murray game. MVS 146. Oh, I wish could have had that. Beluga says, would be cool if Underdog had a spectator mode for viewers of content. What do you mean by that, my friend? Osborne goes 148. Goff falling a considerable amount here. Stafford goes. This team may go Kmet. This is the team that took Justin Fields. Yeah, they go ahead and they take Cole Kmet. So I'm going to do something we never do. I'm going to take Jared Goff here because he falls 20 picks past ADP. We still clearly need a quarterback. I don't necessarily think we can make a strong argument that these wide receivers are a better option than Jared Goff. And sadly, we will look at someone that I never draft. We will look at Sam Laporta later on in this draft. I don't know. Mr. DD says, good idea. We want to watch drafts without being in it. That's what are y'all just essentially saying y'all want to do what we already do on live streams, but you just don't want to have to hear me talk? Is that what y'all saying? Is that what y'all saying? Dear God. Okay, Kyler immediately go 152, 154. Okay, I mean, are there any other Lions that you can even look at here? Search Detroit. I guess you could go Marvin Jones around 18 if you really wanted. We go Denzel Mims. Just be like the only Denzel Mims Jared Goff team. Tyler Algier's fallen a considerable amount as well. Singletary, Algier look like great values. Like I said, we can't take them, though. It literally just does not matter. We cannot draft those guys. Not with our build. Okay. Luke says, didn't realize the Superflex drafts are 20 rounds. Yes, so. Right, the one quarterback drafts on Underdog are 18 rounds. The Superflex drafts on Underdog are 20 rounds. Okay. Prestige Worldwide only has 3 running backs. You assume they go Algier. At least they have Najee, Alexander Madison, Isaiah Pacheco. They go DJ Chark instead, which is very surprising. Tyler Algier goes 159 to Prod. Prod always has a great team. Okay, Shaheed goes. Do I really freaking take Sam Laporta here? Let me pull up how many drafts I've taken Sam Laporta in. I've drafted very few. I'd say Lions, I'm underweight in general. Actually, I guess I'm a little bit overweight on the running backs. We're going to take Laporta. I know I do not think you should be drafting Sam Laporta in the majority of these spots, but we took Goff 20 picks past ADP without any Detroit Lions. So with Goff, you kind of need some correlation given the fact that you are never going to see a massive spike week from Jared Goff rushing the football. He's not like Anthony Richardson. He's not like Fields. He's not like Kyler. He's not even like Daniel Jones. Like, you can't see a week where Jared Goff has 60 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Like, if Goff's going to be a league-winning player, you have to have a ton of volume through the air. So maybe one of those games, Laporta has 2 receiving touchdowns. But yeah, in general, here are my exposures on the Lions. I have 10% Jahmyr Gibbs, 10% David Montgomery. So a little bit overweight on those guys. But then across the board, I am vastly underweight. We have 4% Jameson, 4% Goff. I only have 3% Amon-Ra St. Brown, which is a little bit crazy to say, but I've just been taking Devontae Adams instead of Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then I have 1% Sam Laporta and 0% Marvin Jones. I guess I've actually drafted Marvin Jones in at least one league, but it rounds down because we've drafted 270-ish teams here. But let's see. Sam says, just joined and horrified that you don't have the number 1 pick. I agree with you, my friend. I'm going to have to reach out to my friends at Underdog and ask them what I did wrong. Like, guys, come on. What did I do wrong? How do I not have number 1? Y'all know I'm trying to get 15% Justin Jefferson. Y'all know that's my goal here. All right, we are just quarterback, wide receiver, tight end. I mean, we could go Kenny Pickett to pair up with George Pickens if we really wanted to. This team has 1 QB, 4 running backs, 8 wide receivers already, and 1 tight end. But Alpaca says got some great stacks at pick 11. Let's check out Alpaca's team after we make our next selection. Jaden Reed goes 172. I honestly was probably going to take Reed there if he made it to us. The thing is, do you see a wide receiver teardrop based off what we'd have available to us now in round 15 in comparison to what will be available to us in round 16? That team took Justin Herbert, Daniel Jones, Matthew Stafford. I feel like we can just go ahead and pull the trigger on tight end here, right? If we really wanted to. Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's just take Kenny Pickett, pair him up with George Pickens, and let's see the team at 11, Prestige Worldwide, see what they have going on here. So wide receiver, they go Lamb, Waddle, Debo out the gate. They go Najee Harris round 4, Kittle round 5, Alexander Madison 6, Brandon Cooks, Pacheco. They get the Dak double stack. Oh my gosh. They get Tua at an incredible value there. They get Tua like 20-ish picks past ADP, and they get him stacked up with Jalen Waddle, Greg Dulcich, Michael Gallup. So going with the full-blown Dallas Cowboys onslaught. Yeah, super exciting team. I think the most exciting thing about that is the Tua value on a Jalen Waddle build. Okay. Jeff says, just check my Kadarius Toney exposure and pleased to see I haven't drafted him once. What did I say? I think earlier in the live stream we said we had 2% Kadarius Toney. Now that may be going up to 3%, sadly. Actually, I have 3% Kadarius Toney. So hopefully that's staying at 3, not going up to 4, whatever the hell it is. Okay. Some running backs going great for us. We are done at quarterback. We are going to take 2 more wide receivers and 1 more tight end. Nate says, Mason, Hall of Fame game next week. How do you feel? There's no way this is true, right? When is the Hall of Fame game? There's no way. I remember last year, Josh Jacobs was my most drafted player. Then he goes out there and plays in the Hall of Fame game, and I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? What's going on? I was so scared. Maybe I wasn't showing it, but deep down, I was like, I've just spent thousands of dollars on Josh Jacobs. Are people right? Is he really losing out to Zamir White here? Okay. Yeah, so August 3rd, Hall of Fame game. Okay, so I thought you meant this Thursday. So, yeah, next Thursday. Okay, so we got the report saying Renfrow may end up getting cut. We are just wide receiver tight ends. Devontae Parker off the board. Do we just take Gesicki here and be done at tight end? Yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll take Mike Gesicki and then queue up 2 wide receivers. So we're just going to take 2 wide receivers here at the very end. I don't necessarily know if y'all need to see exactly what we're going with. I'm probably going to grab my guy Wandale and maybe like pull a Josh Downs or something around 18 just to be a little unique. But let me show off this draft board. Very unique team. Don't love it. Don't hate it. Like, I don't really have too many regrets. It just would have been really nice if we would have had a quarterback falling to us at a decent value. So running back, we have Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, A.J. Dillon. Wide receiver, we have Christian Watson, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, George Pickens, Kadarius Toney, Allen Lazard. Quarterback, we have Rodgers double stacked with Lazard, Breece Hall. We have Goff stacked with Sam Laporta. We have Kenny Pickett stacked with George Pickens. Tight end, we have Tyler Higbee, Sam Laporta, Mike Gesicki. And we're going to take 2 more wide receivers here at the very end. So here's what I need. Go to the live chat. What draft do you want to see? Do you want to see a 1 quarterback best ball mania? Or do y'all want to see a Superflex Pomeranian? Superflex or 1 QB? Okay. Superflex. 1 QB, Superflex. Super. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you wanted to see a 1 quarterback draft, you should have said it in the chat. We're going to go ahead. We're going to hop in the Pomeranian Bud Superflex. So this is a draft on Underdog. What's special about this one is it is a $3 buy-in, 0% rake. Generally, in the majority of Underdog tournaments, there's about a 10% rake. So that's how Underdog makes money. They take about 10% of league pot. Here, they're taking 0%. $3 buy-in, $30,000 for first, $15,000 for second, $10,000 for third, $7,500 for fourth, all the way down the line. Let's go ahead and let's get in here, ladies and gentlemen. And I am sure that we are going to be going up against everybody in the live stream, but we'll see. Where are we? That's how it's done, okay? I know we've had a lot of questions asking, how do you get the 101? How do I get the 101? Blah, blah, blah. Here's what you need to do if you want to be drafting at pick 1 more often, ladies and gentlemen. Practice, grit, and determination, okay? Have the mindset of a champion. Have the mindset of a winner. Go into these drafts. Manifest it. Visualize it. Work your ass off for it, okay? Because if you don't do that and you don't get pick 1, I can't help you out. If you can't help yourself, I can't help you, all right? So we're going to go ahead. We're going to get pick 1. You know we're going to get Patrick Mahomes up in here. Actually, or do we want to go Jalen Hurts? We may actually go ahead and we may actually go Jalen Hurts. But regardless, I am excited about this. Okay. We are going to go Jalen Hurts, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I know most people are going to go Mahomes. I personally have Hurts QB1 in a 4-point passing touchdown format. But Cuba in here at pick 12. Love to see it. Let's see. Who else is in here with us? We got FF Addict in here at pick 5. Robert, pick 9 in another draft. We got Mr. Pittsburgh in here at pick 11. Mr. TD picked 3rd for his. And I believe Tommy knows out here in the chat with us as well at pick 7. We also have Prod in here at pick 10. So exciting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Exciting stuff. Prod says he's maxing this tournament out. I think I've told you all this, but last year, I mean, we had so much freaking success in these underdog drafts, except in Superflex drafts. In Superflex drafts last year, essentially, if you wanted to have a shot at making some serious money, what you needed is you needed to have taken Geno Smith in the last 3 rounds. Personally, I didn't take a lot of Geno Smith. I was a dumbass for not doing it. I wish I would have. Because if you would have taken Geno Smith in round 20 in every single draft, you would have printed money. Literally printed. Okay. But now we have Jefferson going ahead of Herbert, which I personally wouldn't agree with. You got Chase going at 10 to Prod here. Cup goes pick 11. In that other draft, we went Wan'Dale Robinson, and I believe we're about to get Josh Downs as well. Whether you go Josh Downs or Corey Davis. Yeah, we're going to go Josh Downs, pick 210 in that other draft. So we went 3 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 8 wide receivers, and 3 tight ends. But Watson, Tua, there at the 1-2 turn. Dak Prescott at the beginning of the second. Very difficult to know exactly what you're going to have available to you there later on. What's kind of crazy about these Superflex underdog drafts is they're just wild. They're like the least predictable things you could ever be in. You have no idea what's going to happen here. So, we'll see. We'll see. Elix says, you said not to draft DK Metcalf last year because their quarterback room was bad. I believe DK Metcalf was the wide receiver 26 from a points per game perspective. So you're welcome, my friend. Yeah. If you drafted DK Metcalf as like the wide receiver 16, wide receiver 17, which I believe where he's going last year, and he was the wide receiver 26, probably not a good pick. Okay. Nick says, typical Mason hacking the servers for pick 1 again. It's called determination, ladies and gentlemen. It's called talent, okay? You don't need to be upset with me because I am good at fantasy football and I know how to get pick 1. Like, just get better. Try harder. What am I supposed to say? Come on. Come on. Okay. Now, Anthony Richardson off the board at 19. I did get into Superflex draft this morning on Underdog to practice for this because I figured you sickos would want to see us ruin a Superflex team. And there, I believe we started off Josh Allen, Anthony Richardson, and then had like no other quarterbacks making it to us. Okay. Let's see what happens here. Stephon Diggs goes 21. Obviously, we're kind of looking at A.J. Brown when we take Jalen Hurts here. It's the primary goal. We'll see if we get him. Geno Smith off the board, 22. Billy on the clock. Went Mahomes round 1. They go A.J. Brown. Honestly, I'm not really going to complain. Getting Bijan Robinson here is such a cheat code because you have to remember, in these super flex drafts on Underdog, wide receiver inherently is going to be less valuable given the fact that you only have to start 2. Since you only have to start 2 wide receivers, you should assume that these guys actually slide down draft boards. So I would way rather have our guy, aka my best friend, Bijan Robinson. So let's fire him up, pick 25. Not going to be upset at all that we get quote-unquote sniped. Love to see Bijan here. And we're going to go Daniel Jones, pick 25. I mean, with Daniel Jones, quarterback that has rushing upside, right? You can't see some spike weeks. He was our quarterback in week 17 last year that got us 16th place in Best Ball Mania that we ended up winning 10,000 with. So, yeah, excited to have him here. Excited. Mr. Padilla says, I would have went Chubb. Would you have gone Chubb over Daniel Jones, is what you're saying? Duke says he can get the division pairing with Jalen Hurts. That is true. That's true. Okay. Now, Monroe St. Brown off the board there at pick 31. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on this live stream. If we had 600 likes on the stream, we're going to be firing up another draft after this one. And if you want to get into our next draft, we are doing underdog drafts every single day on this live stream until 2024. I would say now is definitely the best time to get on Underdog, because if you look at the tournament options that they have for you right now, just with the football tournaments, they have the $3 zero rake Pomeranian but Superflex. And even if you don't like the Pomeranian, they have the $5 slow puppy. This is the tournament that Nick in the flock won $75,000 with last year. $5 buy-in. But yeah, if you're new on Underdog, I'd 100% recommend you getting into the cheap drafts. Those $3 buy-ins, those $5 buy-ins. That way you can get some practice, have some fun, and primarily get ready for your main fantasy football league, right? And of course, if you sign up to Underdog with the link in the live chat or description, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Plus, you'll get our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flogfantasy.com. And this is the player prop I'd recommend to everybody. Jamar Chase plus 25 receiving yards comparison to Devontae Adams on Underdog. Smooth this back down. You have some more wide receivers going with Garrett Wilson, Jalen Waddle. So you're kind of seeing people push running backs up, right? In that one quarterback underdog draft, you'll never see JT. You'll never see Saquon Barkley go ahead of Garrett Wilson, or at least you won't anymore. But it's not that weird of a thing to see at this point. So I'm excited to see this. Okay. Now Tony Pollard off the board, 36. Nick says, Superflex is the format I didn't perform very well in last year either. In my mind, and unless maybe I'm just coming up with excuses, right? But I think the reason I did not do well in the Superflex underdog drafts, and keep in mind, I've been playing in Superflex since 2014. Like in Dynasty, I got rid of all my one quarterback leagues and I've only been playing in Superflex formats since 2017. But I think it was really coming down to last season. Did you have Geno Smith? Yes. If you did, you won money. No. If you didn't, you did not win money. I did not have Geno Smith, so in the Superflex tournaments, I did not do well. Solo says, how many rushing touchdowns do you think Jalen Hurts gets this year? If you look at the props that they have on Underdog right now, they have Jalen Hurts at 10.5 rushing touchdowns. In my mind, that seems extremely aggressive, but obviously they know significantly more than I do. So, I don't know. It seems like very hard to put out a prop of a quarterback to have 10.5 rushing touchdowns. Okay. Now, Ramadre off the board at pick 40. Prod goes Goff, Russ there at the 3-4 turn. You have Derek Carr falling just a bit here. Jordan Love off the board at 41. Let's see. I mean, when we're looking at potential stacks, obviously if Devonta Smith were to make it to us at 48, we're excited to pair up Jalen Hurts as well as Devonta Smith. But, I mean, you can't necessarily bank on a player like that falling, 4-5 picks past ADP. Brees Hall goes 42, so you're seeing a little bit of a run on these running backs in general. Okay. And yeah, going back to that prop on Jalen Hurts, this is why Jalen Hurts is my QB1 in fantasy this year. Obviously, he's not the same talent as Mahomes, but if the expectation is you have double-digit rushing touchdowns, that's the expectation. In my mind, it's hard to get away from you as QB1, especially if you're going to be throwing to A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. Okay, DK Metcalf goes 46. I'm excited with all these options falling. I think we're in a great spot. Bill has Mahomes, Rodgers, A.J. Brown through the first 3 rounds here. Ridley goes, so we're going to just take Stafford as our quarterback 3, and then we're going to go Devonta Smith to pair up with Jalen Hurts. So I think it's pretty unique build, right? I mean, generally you're not going to see Matthew Stafford fall this far because what you see in a lot of these drafts is that team that took Cooper Kupp at the end of the first is going to go ahead and take Matthew Stafford there at the 3-4 turn. So there aren't going to be too many teams in this overall tournament that have Matthew Stafford instead at the 4-5 turn. Going with Devonta Smith to pair up with Jalen Hurts is also going to be a pretty unique combo if you look at the ADP of Devonta Smith at pick 44. So yeah, I'm really excited about this start. I think this is pretty much best case scenario here, going Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones, Matthew Stafford at quarterback, Bijan Robinson, Devonta Smith out the gate, running back, wide receiver. And in the other draft that I did earlier off the live stream, that was a Superflex draft, the same tournament. I believe I had Pat Frymuth, David Njoku making it to us like the 10-11 turn, something along those lines, where we were able to just easily go ahead and double tap the tight end position there, not have to worry about it. Now, obviously, you're not guaranteed to have tight ends fall due in every single one of these, but if something like that were to happen again, I'd be pretty excited because general tight ends are going to get I would say the easier way to put this is wide receivers move down boards. Inherently, that makes tight ends a little bit more valuable, just in case you're comparing them to the baseline wide receiver. And same thing with running backs. Obviously, running backs inherently become a little bit more valuable if you're comparing them to the baseline wide receiver. But it is nice to see finally people coming around to the fact that wide receivers are worth less in this format. You'll have no idea how much we were made fun of last year for passing on wide receivers in these Superflex drafts, considering the fact that you only had to start 2. And fundamentally, you have to change based on the format that you're playing in. Last year, we were just made fun of relentlessly for doing so. This year, it seems like people are starting to actually understand that, yeah, they make up a lower percentage of your starting lineup output. They're inherently a little less valuable. Johnny says, Tannehill going to crush in Superflex. What is the ADP of Ryan Tannehill here? What the hell? Tannehill ADP 105. Yeah, if Tannehill's actually going around that range, I agree with you, my friend. Ryan Tannehill is going to absolutely crush. If that is actually representative of where Ryan Tannehill is getting drafted, then Ryan Tannehill will absolutely crush. Okay, so Deebo Samuel off the board. Moss says, watching a Flock live stream in Cancun feels great. Oh, that is awesome, my man. First off, thank you for always hanging out with us. And second off, congrats on being in Cancun. I mean, I wanted to take a vacation this year, but we started like the commitment to live streaming every single day earlier than we did in years past. I don't know if we can make it like a yearly thing that every single year starting in April, I live stream every single day. Like, is what? At this point, we're pushing like 250 days in a row every single day. Okay. Swizz World says, how much money are we making this year, Mace? Honestly, my expectation, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, is I lose money on Underdog this year. Like with the way these tournaments are set up, like with how they are top heavy. Like last year, you can find the exact video. I don't know exactly how much we spent. We spent like 10 to 15,000 in drafts and we ended up winning 150,000. Like, there's no way that the expectation is every year you continue to win like that. Like, I'm expecting that just with natural variance, we'll probably come back down to earth a lot. Like, I'm assuming that we're probably destined to lose money this next season. Obviously, maybe that's like a pessimistic way to think about it, but I don't know. I just feel like you got to give a little back, at least in my mind. Okay, George Kittle off the board, 71. We're going to go ahead. I guess we'll double tap wide receiver here if we want to have a little bit of a unique build, getting Drake London, Terry McLaurin. I mean, we only take one wide receiver through the first 5 rounds, so we wait until round 5 to grab that guy. So it's not like we're going overboard on wide receiver here in this format. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's do it. I was going to be excited if we had George Kittle making it into us. Kittle was definitely the guy that we were looking at. Okay. Let's see. Ruffles says, I say you break even minimum. If I break even in drafts this year after having as much success as we did last season, I view it as a W. Like, obviously, I'm just trying to be realistic, but if I break even, I'm assuming that it's a W. I'm treating it as a W. Okay. Coy says, is this still a 3 wide receiver start? No, this is a start 2 wide receiver. This is start 2 wide receiver. And that's why I'm saying wide receivers get pushed down. In one quarterback underdog drafts, it is a start 3 wide receiver. Okay, but you have just so many unique different builds here. Like in terms of roster allocation so far. That team at 3 goes Josh Allen, Geno Smith, Nick Chubb. They take DK Metcalf there to pair with Geno. They have Kenny Pickett, Keenan Allen, Kyle Pitts. So they have 2 wide receivers with Metcalf, Keenan. Going over to team 4, their 1 running back, Josh Jacobs. Team 5, going with the bully tight end strategy of Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews. Team 6 decides to wait until round 6 to grab their first wide receiver, pairing up Justin Fields, DJ Moore, pairing up Anthony Richardson and Michael Pittman in round 7. Tommy knows at pick 7 decides to wait until round 6 to pull the trigger on quarterback, going Desmond Ridder, Mac Jones. So you can see in these drafts, there's just so much variation and it's so much more random than what you have in those one quarterback formats where you kind of know what to expect in these underdog drafts. Okay. But yeah, really, really interesting. Like Prod takes the anchor wide receiver round 1, doesn't take another wide receiver till the end of round 7. Like there's no team here that looks the same to the other. I mean, maybe my team at pick 1, similar to the team at pick 12. Maybe just a bit. Okay, Sanders off the board at pick 83. See the best players ranked according to ADP. So, according to ADP, Mike Williams, Cam Akers, Deontay Johnson, Damian Pierce, Chris Godwin, Goddard, Montgomery, Hollywood, Darren Waller, DeAndre Swift in this order. So, no quarterbacks at all, but I'd make the argument that Ryan Tannehill should probably be a lot closer to these other guys, especially now that you have the addition of DeAndre Hopkins. So maybe you see Tannehill go a little bit earlier. Obviously, I mean, we're not sitting here stressing about quarterback whenever we start off our draft with Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones, Matthew Stafford. Hartnell says, how was Barbie, my friend? It was okay. It was okay. Had its moments, it wasn't for me, but it wasn't made for me, to be fair. It was made for the girlfriend. And okay, here's what I need. We're going movie reviews. Obviously, Barbie and Oppenheimer, the biggest movies of the year. If you watched either one, let me get your review in the live chat. Put it on the channel. Let me know. Tommy Knows coming out says, I am fully aware of the hole I dug myself. I never get Jefferson and wanted to try to learn my lesson. Yeah. I mean, it's just so tough, right? Because if you look at like Desmond Ridder versus the other wide receivers here, it's like Desmond Ridder or Keenan Allen. Is the gap in points from Justin Herbert, Desmond Ridder, larger than the gap in points from Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen? Probably. Like, you know. Okay, let's see. DNB has a very constructive movie review here. Margot Robbie is hot. Barbie was meh. Oppenheimer was amazing. Oppenheimer was fire. Oppenheimer was great. Barbie was not. Oppenheimer was 10 out of 10, one of the best movies I've ever seen. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go see, and I'm not a big movie guy, but at Costco, you know, you can buy like gift cards. Like you can spend $40 and get like, we bought $50 worth of gift cards for $40. I'm always looking for deals like that. Always. So I got $50 of movie gift cards. So we went Barbie this weekend, and we're going to go see Oppenheimer next weekend. Okay. Now we have Hollywood off at 92. A couple different interesting setups here. I don't want to say too much until we're actually on the clock. So this is definitely going to be a team where we have to go through and where we have to draft 3 tight ends. Like, we're not getting away from that. And honestly, in a 20-round draft, I don't hate, and I'm not trying to do it, but I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world to go ahead and take 4 tight ends. Zoe says Barbie was surprisingly watchable. Okay, I'll go a little bit more in depth in my review in just one second. We're going to take Deontay Johnson, ADP 83. He literally just never makes it here. And then we're going to go ahead. I guess we'll take Jackson. Do we want JSN or do we want to pivot to Rachaad White? We'll take JSN. Hell, we want to take guys we want to root for. I interviewed him at the NFL draft, just like Bijan Robinson. So let's go ahead and let's take him here. And we have this onslaught of wide receivers at this point. But yeah, so here was my in-depth review of Barbie. If the scene had, is it Ryan Reynolds or Ryan Reynolds. Let me make sure it's the guy I'm thinking of. Yeah, okay, so, no, or Ryan Gosling. If the scene had Ryan Gosling or Margot Robbie, it was good. If they were not in the scene, it was horrible. That's my in-depth review. But DNB says Bijan Robinson, JSN is the interview stack. 100%. That's what we're going for. We're going for the interview stack here, okay? Hunter, this is a Superflex Pomeranian draft. Underdog dropped this morning. So it's a $3 buy-in, $200,000 prize pool Superflex. First place, first 30,000, second place 15,000, all the way down the line. Here are the starting lineup requirements. It's going to be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a Superflex, a flex, and 12 bench as well. Okay. Brandon asking how we know Scissors. Scissors just been watching the channel for years now. He's always super nice. Comes and hangs out with us in live streams. Generally, he comes out a little bit closer to the start of the year. Okay. Andrew says, I went against the grain and saw the Transformers movie. I did not even know there was a Transformers movie, my friend. Let's move this down. GBD says Will Levis draft, and maybe we'll mix in a little Will Levis. There's nobody I want to root for more this year than Will Levis. Other than Lance, of course. It's not like we're going to win a ton of money if Levis does well. We'll win a ton of money if Lance does well, but... Okay, honestly, after we have 5 wide receivers, like, I kind of want to see wide receivers get drafted. Now, one thing that's interesting is this team that took Geno Smith here at pick 22, they had the chance to take both Jackson Smith-Njigba as well as Tyler Lockett here at 94, 99, and instead they opted to go David Montgomery, Jahan Dotson. I would say in general, if you have Geno Smith, you can't really afford to take Jahan Dotson over Tyler Lockett in my mind. I think you kind of have to go ahead and take Tyler Lockett over Dotson if that's going to be your case. Okay. J Rob says, why is nobody talking about the Sound of Freedom? Are we serious right now? I heard it's very good. I heard Sound of Freedom's really good. Okay. Now, Trey Lance off the board, 108. Okay, let's move this over. God, did my mouse die? RIP, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so Evan Ingram off the board, 109. We definitely want tight ends making it back around to us, so not great to see Evan Ingram go, but this is where we said in the last draft we were able to take David Njoku, Pat Frymuth off the board at pick 120 as well as 121. If we're able to do that, I would be very, very excited about this team. I mean, we still set ourselves up with the ability to go like Higbee later on to pair with Stafford. I think that's something that we kind of have to look to do, right? But Kamara, Javonte, James Cook, all off the board here, 110 through 112. Okay. Kadarius Toney finally goes 113. You're seeing Toney fall in this draft as well. There are about, I want to say, 6 guys that I'd be fine with. So hopefully one of the players that we don't want gets drafted. So 2 of the guys that we do want make it to us. Where did Frymuth go? Pat Frymuth, Okay, Tommy Nose takes Pat Frymuth from us. Dear God, my man. Not going to blame you for it. Not going to blame you. Okay, Gibson goes 117. What was the Bateman report? Do we have anything up to date like today? Okay, Bateman goes to training camp. Pretty good news for Bateman. Okay, Dylan goes 118. All right, never mind. I was going to say the two guys that we wanted a combination of one of these running backs as well as David Njoku. Y'all know I pretty much refused to draft Samaje Perine, so now I guess we're going to make a bet on the Cleveland Browns offense by taking David Njoku as well as Elijah Moore on the same build. So at this point, we got to stop taking wide receivers pretty damn soon, right? I mean, we're sitting with Devonta Smith, Terry McLaurin. Let me slide this down. I don't even remember who we have. Drake London, Deontay Johnson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, as well as Elijah Moore. So one thing I do like is the fact that we're able to double tap these teammates, right? Like we're able to have David Njoku and Elijah Moore both in this Cleveland Browns offense. I mean, this can work out a couple different ways. One, y'all know, obviously, if Deshaun Watson comes out and Deshaun Watson looks like prime Watson this next season, then all of a sudden both these guys can be pretty big hits. Or maybe Amari Cooper doesn't work out. Maybe Amari Cooper gets injured. Both these guys see expanded target shares. One or two of those situations could make it where it's a pretty advantageous spot for us. But we'll see. Teague says Stetson Bennett pick 20. Definitely not when we have Matthew Stafford on the roster. Okay. Jake says, are you buying the dip on Tony? You know I have drafted literally zero Kadarius Toney all offseason. Last draft, we took Kadarius Toney because we were desperate for a wide receiver and he fell 20 picks past ADP. So in that scenario, yes, I will take him. Yes, I will take him. Okay. T-Man says, if Watson doesn't do well next year, coaches are going to get put on the hot seat for sure. Yeah, I mean, because when you have that kind of investment into Deshaun Watson, it almost doesn't matter whose fault it is. If they can't make it work, they can't move on from Watson. When you pay 3 first-round picks and give him the most guaranteed money in NFL history, you can't move on from the guy. It's not possible. Okay. So Damian Harris off the board at 128. Cortland Sutton goes 129. I'm just trying to think. Okay, so how many rounds do we have left? We have, I believe, 9 rounds left. So with those 9 rounds, I probably want to go 2 more tight ends. We have 7 after that. 5 more running backs, 1 more wide receiver, something like that. Overwhelmingly, what we're looking for through the rest of this draft is going to be running back. It's the main thing that we're looking. Okay. Let's move this down. Prod says, Jameson should be worth a little bit more in this format because it should be easier to sneak him in. I'd actually agree with you on that. Like, if it's going to be a 20-round draft, I would say that someone that's going to miss the beginning portion of the season, it should be easier to sneak him into the fantasy football playoff tournament. So, yeah. I mean, I think Jameson Williams is worth a little bit more here than he would be otherwise. Okay. Now we have Thomas Allen Lazard going off the board at 132, 133. Teague says, who are your favorite late round picks? So by position, running back, I really like the guys that aren't signed right now just because I'm saying, okay, well, yeah, maybe they're nothing, but most likely your late round picks are nothing in the first place. But maybe guys like, say, Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt have a pretty high ceiling if they find themselves in the right spot. So in general, I'd say those 2 backs. And if we're looking at wide receiver, I like Josh Downs. I like Wan'Dale Robinson. Those were a couple prospects that I thought were decent options. Obviously, Wan'Dale coming back from an injury, but I think both of them are on open enough depth charts where they could have a role this next season. Say quarterback, we're going to be looking at Trey Lance, round 18, given his rushing upside. Tight end, I'd be going Hayden Hurst, given the open depth chart at wide receiver. Okay. Let's move this back around. Tyler Boyd falling. Very rarely you're going to see Boyd behind Odell and Juju Smith-Schuster. I think we can assume that the Joe Burrow team takes Tyler Boyd pretty soon. Tyler Boyd goes 139. GBD12 says, don't sleep on Ty Montgomery. He's listed as a wide. How old is Ty Montgomery at this point? Montgomery's only 30? I honestly thought Ty Montgomery was a little older than that. I'm not telling anybody to go after Ty Montgomery. I'm just saying it's a little surprising. Okay, Sky Moore goes 141. Romeo Dobbs off the board at 142. Okay. Like I said, main thing is we're pretty much not wanting to grab wide receiver here when we already have 6 in this kind of format. So Kincaid goes. So we're going to go back-to-back running back here with Devon Achane as well as Jerick McKinnon. Don't want to sit here and act like, oh, yeah, this is the best bubble. In reality, both guys fall past ADP. In reality, this is the position we need. Not going to be a lot of competition in terms of running backs getting them. I'm sorry, people getting running backs at the similar price tag. So, yeah, let's pull the trigger on both these guys. So now, quarterback, we have Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones, Matthew Stafford. Running back, we have Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane, Jerick McKinnon. Wide receiver, we have Devonta Smith, Drake London, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Elijah Moore. Tight end, we have David Njoku. So the offenses that we made correlated bets on, we've made a bet on the Philadelphia Eagles offense with Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith. We've made that bet with the Atlanta Falcons passing offense and rushing offense with Bijan Robinson, Drake London. We made a bet on the Cleveland Browns offense with David Njoku and Elijah Moore. And hopefully we can find Tyler Higbee a little later on to pair up with Matthew Stafford. And hopefully we can also find a New York Giants wide receiver later on to pair up with Daniel Jones. Okay. Let's scroll this down. Jacob says, how much exposure do you have to Justin Ross? 0%. Like, I'm not taking Justin Ross in a single league. Like, Justin Ross had a lot of potential at Clemson. Like, I think if he never dealt with injuries, I think Justin Ross would have been a true difference-making player. I mean, hell, Justin Ross at 18 years old on that Clemson roster was better than T. Higgins when T. Higgins was, I believe, a junior. It's like, that's very, very exciting, obviously, to see that kind of production from such a young player. But it's hard. It's hard. Aiden says, thoughts on the second-year tight end in Tennessee late? I'm a Titans fan. I think it would have been a lot more interesting pre-DeAndre Hopkins. But now that you have Hopkins coming over, I mean, you go for possibly being the 4th option in a bad offense overall. You got, obviously, numero uno, Derrick Henry, numero dos, DeAndre Hopkins, then Burks, and now the tight end. RS German, long-time member of the flock, says, excited for my draft this year, Mason. Superflex, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 6 flex, and tight end premium. Okay, so if it's going to be a full PPR format like this with these settings, I played in a ton of leagues like this. They're called Hyperflex. Generally, I'm playing in a lot of these in Dynasty. But what I would highly, highly recommend is move up wide receivers dramatically. This is a kind of league where you don't really want to be worried about running back depth whatsoever. If it's a full PPR format, the most likely optimal position for your flex spot at cost in your draft is going to be wide receiver. So I wouldn't mind just literally starting your draft off with 7 wide receivers in a row, even if that sounds crazy. Hell, you're just filling out your starting lineup. If you draft 7 wide receivers in a row, you can start every single one of those guys every single week. So love it. Love it. Okay. Now we have Sam Laporta off the board at 162. We are a pretty rookie-heavy team with Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane, as well as JSN. DMB says Justin Ross better than Higgins. On the Clemson roster, when Justin Ross was 18 years old, he was. And go ahead and pull up these stats. Of course, this is all going off the top of my head with our NFL draft research last year. So maybe I'm a little bit wrong with the details, but I can pull this up for y'all. And this is not to tell you to be excited about Justin Ross. This is just me saying, yes, I understand why people would be excited but you really can't be. Yeah, so Justin Ross, 2018 at Clemson, had 1,000 receiving yards in 14 games, whereas T. Higgins in 15 games had 936 receiving yards. Okay, Rashee Rice goes, I think we're going to do the same thing we did in the last round. We need running backs. We're going to take the 2 guys that fall. Not much to discuss. Like, we don't have access to Tyler Higbee here, which is a little bit frustrating, but we need to just be going running back, running back, running back, running back. We are so solid at QB with Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones, Matthew Stafford. So solid at wide receiver with Devonta Smith, Drake London, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, JSN, Elijah Moore, that we really just seem to be trying to find that running back 2 for this roster, right alongside Bijan Robinson. And I think in a best ball format, maybe we can get there with A-Chain, McKinnon, Roshan, Devin Singletary. Let's see. Okay. Let's move this over. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. I got to go let someone in. Just 1 second. I'll be back. Okay, I am sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I am sorry about that. But we have Tyquan Thornton off the board at 178. So while we're gone, not too much happens. You have Will Levis going to quarterback, but obviously you're just in the range of QB where you have literally no idea who's going to be here. Like, no idea if any of these guys are starters. And like I said, last year, just in this range, I wasn't really taking anybody. And I do think hindsight being 2020, if we're trying to chase the highest ceiling possible, right, where this is a $3 buy-in, this is $30,000 to first place. If we're chasing the highest ceiling possible, the highest ceiling is taking someone that may end up turning out to be a starting quarterback here in the range of guys like KJ Osborne, Raheem Mostert, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So, I don't know. I think that honestly what we may need to start doing is we may need to start taking selective shots on some of these quarterbacks, because just go through this hypothetical, right? Say hypothetically, you're able to start off Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones, but instead of taking a quarterback there in round 4, instead if you grab another elite level player, like say we grab Josh Jacobs instead, and then we find someone, just say Will Levis ends up being this year's Geno Smith. Not saying it's going to happen, but we're saying, what if Will Levis ends up being this year's Geno Smith and you're able to get that player in round 15, there you're going to be going up against a lot of other teams that aren't going to have another quality running back like Josh Jacobs, you know? So I think something I need to get better about, while it doesn't make a lot of sense just if you look at median projections, but if you try to think about getting the highest ceiling possible, it's what you want to be doing, is taking more of these late shots on quarterback. So what we did in the last draft is, who did we take in the last draft off the live stream? I believe we took Heineke as well as Marcus Mariota. I had a call from someone else in the live stream. I really wish, maybe they're there. It was a regular in the stream. Told us that Marcus Mariota is a phenomenal super late round selection, because if you were to get an injury to Jalen Hurts, Mariota has rushing upside to be viable in fantasy. And you would have the situation surrounding him of A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, as well as Dallas Goedert. And also with Marcus Mariota, he's not like Mike White or Colt McCoy. So the thing is, Mike White and Colt McCoy are going to be drafted in every single one of these across the entire tournament. Whereas if you're looking at someone like Marcus Mariota, very rarely is he actually going to get drafted. So if Mariota were to turn in like a Geno Smith type season with an injury to Jalen Hurts, then all of a sudden you could be looking at a player with an incredibly high ceiling, while at the same time, he's pretty unique in the overall tournament, which is something to get excited about. And that's something to look forward to. Okay. Now, let's move this over. Gus Edwards, someone that I haven't drafted at all. Now that they bring in Melvin Gordon, I just have zero interest in Gus Edwards still. Chase Brown off the board. I think we're actually going to go Curtis Samuel. I mean, we have Terry McLaurin here, so it makes sense to make that correlated bet on that Washington passing offense. And I think we're actually going to go with another tight end. I think maybe we're going to pull the trigger on Tyler Conklin. We're going to definitely draft 3 tight ends with this team, but yeah, let's show this draft board off. And we are 9 likes away from hitting 600 likes on this live stream. So if y'all want another draft after this one, go down there, drop a like on this stream. If we hit 600, we're going to be hopping into another draft after this. We'll be getting into a 1 quarterback draft after this, though. We're not going to go back-to-back Superflex. We'll get in another Best Ball Mania draft, ladies and gentlemen. But let's move this down. Yeah, we're at 600. So I'm going to keep y'all posted on what we're doing in this draft. We're going to take 1 more tight end, 1 more running back minimum. And then that last spot, we can really be flexible and do almost anything there. We could go running back, wide receiver, or quarterback. I'll let y'all know, but let's instead go ahead and hop into the largest tournament on Underdog. Let's get in the $25 buy-in, $15 million prize pool, Best Ball Mania. Couple spots open. If anybody wants to come in, they fill immediately. It's not even funny at this point, right? My grit, my determination, my will to win, my skill, my effort, whatever you want to say, is level 99, pushing level 100. Number 1 pick in the last draft, number 2 in this one. God. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Beautiful. Jeff says, no red badge. We got a couple red badges in this draft. And we have some black and white badges as well. If you don't know what badges are on Underdog, if you see a black and white badge, that means that person's done 500 Underdog drafts. If you see a red and white badge, that means that person has done 1,000 Underdog drafts. So yeah, the team at 3, the team at 4 has done at least 500. I've done over 1,000. The team at 10's done over 1,000. The team at 12's done over 1,000 as well. But Minecraft says, Mason started playing Underdog. Thanks to you. I love it. Thanks, man. No, thank you so much, my friend, for coming and hanging out with us in the live stream. Now, Jefferson off the board at 1. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to get Jamar Chase. I actually don't have a lot of Jamar Chase. I have significantly more Justin Jefferson than Chase. Like, all jokes aside, in reality, I don't get pick 2 very often. I have 11% Justin Jefferson right now and 6% Jamar Chase. So I'm at a total of 17% between the 2 guys, which is honestly average, but it's just funny that it's all happened in the last week that we're getting these. But yeah, we're going to go Chase. We're going to mix it up. Most likely go Jalen Hurts at the 2-3 turn, as y'all know, we generally always do. But Anthony coming out of the donation says, Superflex Dynasty League, who do you prefer, Lamar Lawrence or Justin Herbert? If it's going to be a Superflex Dynasty format, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Justin Herbert. If it's going to be like a 1 quarterback redraft league, there instead of trying to chase the long-term stability of a quarterback, you're going to be more so focused in on the short-term upside. So I would say just for this season, what I would actually prefer is I would actually prefer going ahead and taking Lamar Jackson in 2023 drafts. But if you're talking Dynasty Superflex, where the floor of the quarterback over the long term matters as well, there I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Justin Herbert, my friend. Okay. Well, let's move this over. And of course, real quick side note, if y'all want to get into one of these drafts with us, which we're doing every single day, if y'all want to take a shot at one of these tournaments, you can with the link in the comment section, link in description, link in the live chat. They're best balls drafts, so no time commitment at all during the year. That's how I drafted 700 teams and won $150,000 last season. If you sign up to Underdog with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Plus, you're going to get our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com. It's available in damn near every state, and it's the same place where you have all those pick'em lines or player props, however you want to call them, in our videos. My favorite player prop out right now on Underdog is Jamar Chase plus 25 receiving yards in comparison to Devontae Adams. But this is where Underdog is available, ladies and gentlemen. And plus everywhere in Canada but Ontario. Okay. But Chubb goes 16, so you have obviously Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley continuing to fall down rankings, something that we're kind of used to at this point. Devonta Smith off the board at 17. Jonathan Taylor goes 18. Riley says, if you can't get a top 3 pick, it's probably just a skill issue. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, people in life always like to make excuses. They always like to complain, and they never look at the man in the mirror, right? Like, if you are not getting pick 1, if you're not getting pick 2, have you thought about just getting better? Serious question. This goes to everybody here. So if you're complaining that you don't get a top 3 pick, why are you complaining? Just get better, okay? It's like the same thing if people complain, oh, okay, I have the second most points in my league, but I have the most points against. Okay, it looks like you just play horrible defense. Get better at defense. But a prod coming out says, hey, so as you know, I've been drafted for a while, and I was looking at my exposure. My highest drafted player is 16%. Good or bad sign? Generally, I think it's a good sign. Like, 2 years ago, it saved us. 2 years ago, my most drafted players going into the season were Akers and Travis Etienne at the running back position. I don't think that was overall, but my 2 most drafted running backs were Akers and Travis Etienne 2 years ago, but I capped it at 20%, so it was pretty good for us at the end of the day. But last year, obviously, our most drafted guys were Mahomes and Jacobs, who I capped at 20% to be safe, and it did not work out to us. I think it's a good call, my friend, but we are going to have an unbelievable start. This is my favorite start I've ever had on Underdog. This is by far and away my favorite start I've had of the year. Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley, Patrick Mahomes through the first 3 rounds. This is beautiful, ladies and gentlemen. Like, have y'all seen something this pretty before? The other draft, real quick, just keeping y'all posted. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Kareem Hunt and do we want Isaiah Likely? I'm not taking freaking Isaiah Likely. I'd rather have Noah Fant. I'll take Noah Fant. But yeah, this is awesome. I have to tweet this out. Okay, so Allen makes it a pick 30. What's very interesting is that team at 1 decides to go with the unique build. They go Amari Cooper at pick 25. I mean, obviously, Amari is not a good pick there in a vacuum, but what you have to think about is you have to think about the fact that there are going to be very few combinations of Justin Jefferson and Amari Cooper in this overall tournament. So if Jefferson ends up being the wide receiver 1 overall, and if Amari is somehow able to turn into a top 5 wide receiver, particularly in the fantasy football playoffs, you're going to be going up against no other teams that have that combo. So I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, the Amari Cooper pick's horrendous. You have to understand why they're doing it. At least my assumption is they're doing it to have a unique build. But okay. Let's see, we have Gibbs going at 35, Andrews going at 34. So the goal of this draft at this point is just not to mess it up. If we don't mess it up, we're good. We got to let it coast. We got to let it ride. All right. Let's not do anything crazy. We don't need to be taking Justin Fields at pick 47 in this draft. But let's stay out of our own way. Let's just have an average draft through the rest of this. Because if we have an average draft through the next 15 rounds, we're going to have one of the best teams on Underdog. But we'll see. We'll see. Elix says, I was the first comment on your tweet. Yeah, I essentially just tweeted out a picture of the start and said, how y'all feeling? Let's see. First comment. Let's go. Love to see it. Love to see it. And of course, if y'all are not following me on Twitter, at Mason.ffn. Okay. Now, London McLaurin off the board, 41-42. Would have been nice having like Najee make it to us, right? So it's going to be interesting is I'm assuming the team at pick 1 that took T. Higgins maybe decides to go ahead and take Joe Burrow. But if they pass on Burrow as well, I'm not taking Burrow with a Mahomes start. So we may see Burrow fall down this draft board a considerable amount. Game knocker goes DJ Moore. We're going to take Joe Mixon. With Joe Mixon, he is not someone I love targeting in Ball Mania in general, just because you're going to see a lot of teams that were able to get Joe Mixon way later on, earlier this offseason. But at the same time, those teams that were getting Joe Mixon way later on in rounds like 6 and 7, they also were not drafting at the same time. You could get Mahomes in the 3rd round and Barkley at the beginning of the 2nd. Do we mix it up and go Kirk? In a lot of these drafts, I'm going TJ Hawkinson. But in this draft, I'm just going to try to go with the balanced approach, stay out of my way, and let's go wide receiver here. Let's do it. Jan says, "Goat reply on Twitter. Buyers truly." Riley says he just saw it. Let me see this. Let me see this. Okay. I know you've sent this to me, my man. Love to see it. Love to see it. Okay. We have Ayuk, Fields, Hawkinson going. That team, I mean, getting Fields round 5 is just crazy. But you understand why it's happening, right? It's because when you're getting like Hurts at the end of round 2, Mahomes at the beginning of round 3, like these teams can't take Justin Fields. So just naturally he's falling to the middle of round 5. Okay. Hurricane Lane, just in case you missed my Barbie review earlier, the scenes with Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling were good. The scenes without them were horrible. Overall, I didn't love the movie, but the movie wasn't made for me, and I understand that, so it is what it is. Okay. Now, Kenneth Walker makes it all the way to 58. You have Mike Evans going 57. I mean, we reached on Evans just a bit earlier, and we were doing so at a significantly cheaper cost, right? Okay, so in that other draft, we're back up on the clock. What do we want to do? We're just going to take Heineke as a 4th QB. Who the hell cares? I mean, hell, we drafted Bijan and Drake London. So that other draft, it was the Superflex one. Quarterback, we had Hurts, Daniel Jones, Matthew Stafford, Taylor Heineke. Running back, we had Bijan, Devon Achane, Jarrett McKinnon, Roshan Johnson, Devin Singletary, Kareem Hunt. Wide receiver, Devonta Smith, Drake London, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, JSN, Elijah Moore, Curtis Samuel. Tight end, Njoku, Conklin, Fant. It's an okay draft. Not as good as this draft, but never claimed to be as good in the Superflex underdog drafts as a 1 quarterback one. But we'll see. We'll see. Okay. Evan says Kirk to be unique. Now, Kirk actually goes there a decent amount. I think this team's so unique that we don't have to worry about that too much at this point. It's more so Kirk just to go with the wide receiver, because the last thing I want to do is take the risk we don't have a wide receiver making it to us that we like and be in a very compromising position, right? But we'll see. We'll move this over. Yeah, like you're seeing at this point, there are not too many wide receivers available coming back around to us here at pick 71. Like the next best wide receiver is Kadarius Toney. And the vast majority of people who draft Patrick Mahomes where we did will go ahead and they will take Kadarius Toney. And I completely understand why. But personally, it's not something I'm excited about doing. Okay. Alexander Madison goes 67. Sanders 68. Don't put us in a tough spot here. Please not. Please no. Pickens goes 69. Okay, so we're not going to be put in a tough spot. I think we'll be good. Game knocker went Hurts, CMC, Metcalf, DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk. Seems like they are just in on taking the highest ranked player according to ADP. They go Swift. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take Kyle Pitts. I'm not going to think about that one too much. And this may be where we get a little weird. This may be where we get a little unique, ladies and gentlemen. Kadarius Toney goes 72. Darren Waller off the board as well. So never mind. Whenever I was talking about possibly getting a little weird, a little unique, I was possibly going to go with the bully tight end strategy and take Dallas Goedert here as well. But knowing that we get Dameon Pierce, make it to us in round 7, instead we're going to pull the trigger on Dameon Pierce. But this is why we decided to take Christian Kirk where we did. Because this team is still extremely light on wide receiver, right? But with Christian Kirk there, I think that we're okay. Like, we can get by at wide receiver. Where I don't want to have to be in a spot taking Jahan Dotson over Dameon Pierce. I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to have to take Kadarius Toney over Kyle Pitts. I want to have the flexibility. I want to have the optionality of going through and taking Kyle Pitts and Dameon Pierce at this 6-7 turn. And that's why we decided to go ahead and pull the trigger on Christian Kirk there at pick 50. So yeah, so far this team, wide receiver, we have Jamar Chase, Christian Kirk. Running back, we have Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce. Quarterback, we have Patrick Mahomes. Tight end, we have Kyle Pitts. So, love to see it. Love to see it. Can't Shoot says, Pierce's ADP is so crazy to me. Yeah. In my mind, Dameon Pierce is a top 5 ADP on Underdog right now. And I know I've gone on freaking monologues talking about this, and you're tired of hearing me say it by now. But last year, I did not draft Dameon Pierce at all. Last year, I thought the Dameon Pierce value was out of control. He was going in round 4 and round 5, and I was a hater. I was going and saying you cannot draft a running back that was a day 3 NFL draft pick that is unproven, that has Davis Mills as his starting quarterback. It made 0 sense. And we were proven wrong. Dameon Pierce was a great rookie. So I thought this year, now that they get the upgrade to CJ Stroud, Dameon Pierce has proven himself. I thought that he was going to be significantly more expensive. But in my mind, it's crazy that he's proven himself. They only bring in Singletary as a backup. They bring in a quarterback upgrade, and we're still able to get Dameon Pierce here at 74. Yeah, the fact that Pierce is going later than he did last year makes 0 sense to me. Okay, let's move this back around. Alvin Kamara off the board, 88. Javonte Williams goes 89. Those guys I have drafted a decent amount of. Hurricane Lane says, Dalvin going to the Texans is going to be crazy. Just in my mind, like, the Texans would have no incentive to sign one of those veteran backs, right? Like, in my mind, and of course I'm wrong, I kind of view those veterans as candidates to go to teams that are trying to win this year. Because if you're the Texans and you really don't have a shot to win this year, what the hell are you going to do by lighting money on fire to go sign Dalvin Cook, you know? At least in my mind. Okay, so James Cook off the board, 91. Couple different options I'm fine with here. Oh, I'm excited about this turn. I think we're going to do some fun stuff here. This is going to be good. Okay, let's see what this team does. This team seems like they're just taking the highest ranked player. Yeah, they go James Conner there. Isaiah Pacheco, 93. Zay Flowers goes. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take Dalvin Cook here. I understand Dalvin has off the field concerns. I understand we don't know what the team that Dalvin's on. But if you're looking at Best Ball Mania in general, the vast majority of teams have taken Dalvin Cook about 3 rounds before this. In some cases, 4 rounds before this. So I think it makes a decent amount of sense to take Dalvin at a significantly cheaper cost, just in case if Dalvin were to go to the Miami Dolphins, if he were to be a high-end running back 2 in fantasy this next year, and he ends up turning into a quote-unquote league winner, we're going to be able to crush the other Dalvin teams compared to the rest of the field when we get him at the cheapest cost possible. So let's go Dalvin and Rashad Penny goes. So I know everybody and their mom's going to want us to go Sky Moore here. I completely understand why. I think Sky Moore is probably the correct decision, but I would rather get a little bit weird. We take Christian Kirk so we can make the consolidated bet on this Jacksonville Jaguars passing offense. Maybe by taking Kirk and Evan Ingram on the same build, we can say one of 2 things. One, the Jags passing offense is going to be better than people expect us next season. And if that's not the case, then we can also say, okay, well, maybe Calvin Ridley just isn't going to be the same guy he was. Maybe Calvin Ridley isn't great. So here, I mean, tough spot, but let's take Evan Ingram. Sky Moore goes immediately after. If someone was smart, they would go Sky Moore to pair with Patrick Mahomes, especially when you need wide receiver more than you need tight ends. But this is going to be a team where we're only going to draft 5 running backs, where we're only going to draft 2 tight ends, most likely only 2 quarterbacks, and 9 wide receivers with the anchor wide receiver, Jamar Chase. So we'll see. We'll see. And yeah, taking Evan Ingram's going to allow us to only have to draft 2 tight ends. But obviously at this point, what we want more than anything in the world is we want wide receivers making it back around to us. That is what we want more than anything in the world. Prod says, I feel like Sky Moore's a trap. I remember drafting the hell out of him at ADP 130 or so. Like I said, my most drafted wide receivers for this Chiefs offense are Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Rashee Rice, because I think this depth chart is completely up for grabs. I think everything's up in the air, and I just want the cheapest options on it. Okay. But Frymuth off the board, 105. Swing this back around. All right, so we cannot look at tight ends anymore. We are exclusively QB, running back, wide receiver, preferably with a strong lean to the wide receiver position. David Njoku goes, great for us. Anthony Richardson goes 108. Wasn't necessarily looking at Richardson here. Okay, Brian Robinson. Brady asking if the Superflex Pomeranian's full already. No, the Superflex tournaments on Underdog actually feel a lot slower than the one quarterback contest. So the Pomeranian but Superflex, the $3 buy-in Superflex, $200,000 prize pool still open. The Slow Puppy $5 buy-in, $500,000 prize pool still open as well. Yeah, so what filled immediately was like the one quarterback Pomeranian. Let's move this back around. Odell goes 111. Not great for us. We clearly want to see wide receivers on the way back around. Love Star says, I can't see MVS being the wide receiver one in Kansas City, but he could have huge spike weeks. Yo, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is never going to be a wide receiver that can see like a 20% team target share. What you're betting on with MVS is that he goes out there and he has 2 weeks of 30 points when you need him, you know. Tyler Boyd goes 115. Cousins, not really in play for us. We didn't take Hawkinson. We didn't take Addison. We didn't take Jefferson. But Cousins goes 116 anyway. So really, we're not going to be looking at any quarterback here. Alan Lazard goes 117. This team just takes highest ranked player according to ADP. Actually, they go Jacoby Myers, so hell yes. We're going to get Juju Smith-Schuster. Honestly, love the pick with Juju here, wide receiver like 54, considering the fact you have DeAndre Hopkins in Tennessee. I think grabbing Juju is a phenomenal selection here, to be honest with you. Okay. Aaron Rodgers goes 120. Dalton Schultz off. So we're going to make a concentrated bet as well that the Houston Texans are maybe a little bit better than people assume. We'll pair up a Dameon Pierce with Nico Collins. So the teams that we bet on so far, we bet on the Cincinnati Bengals with the combination of Jamar Chase as well as Joe Mixon. We bet on the Jacksonville Jaguars with the combination of Christian Kirk as well as Evan Ingram. We bet on the Houston Texans with the combination of Dameon Pierce as well as Nico Collins. And we're going to be looking at some Kansas City Chiefs wide receivers later on to complete our bet with the Kansas City Chiefs offense with Mahomes and hopefully Rice / Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Aldo says, is it bad to have 5 or 6 stacks? Now, in general, what I'm looking to do is I think it's not great to have, say, like 5 players from the same offense on an underdog team because you don't have unlimited roster spots, right? You only have 18 roster spots. But I would love to have only teammates across the board. Like if I could have, say, 9 pairs of 2 teammates from each offense, I would actually really like that. Like if you look at stacking historically, you actually have better results if you pair up like the starting tight end in an offense and the wide receiver 2 in said offense. Like it's weird. Like it's not just taking a quarterback and their wide receiver, right? Just Sherman says, should I trade Najee, DJ Moore, and 2 future firsts for Jefferson? Other running backs are Brees, P. Ryan, Madison, Jeff Wilson, Hines, James Robinson, Chase Brown. My only first left. If you don't have any other first round picks, in general, I am strongly opposed to trade away 2024 and 2025 first round picks in Dynasty. Because what happens if all of a sudden your running back 2, Alexander Madison, this year doesn't do anything, and you don't have a 2024 first, and you end up having a trash team and no future pick? So I wouldn't like that, my friend. I'd be avoiding that. Okay. DMB says, what about a whole team with the entire starting offensive lineup? You're saying like draft only Chiefs students? That'd be horrible, my friend. If I'm understanding that correctly. Okay. Let's move this over. Like I said, we cannot take tight ends. We are not drafting tight ends in this draft. We are quarterback, wide receiver, or running back. We can only go 1 more quarterback and only 1 more running back. The rest will be wide receiver. Elijah Mitchell goes 139. Aaron, no, I have not done a bunch of weekly winners. I'm not confident at all in my weekly winners draft strategy. Like I've proven to myself that I am very good at these drafts on Underdog. This specific tournament style contest where you're in that 12-team league weeks 1 through 14, and then you're in your fantasy football playoff tournament weeks 15, 16, 17. I've proven to myself over a large sample that I am better than the vast majority of people at that structure. I have no idea when it comes to what you have with weekly winners. Weekly winners, I am probably trash. So I'm going to wait until we have an off season of data, and then I'll go super heavy with weekly winners next year. Definitely still mixing them in, definitely still having some fun, but it's not like I'm going super, super heavy with them. Okay, we're going to go Marquez Valdez-Scantling here on the turn, or one of these wide receivers, whoever falls. Condre Miller goes, yeah, so we have to take Jamal Williams there, right? I mean, he falls, 16 picks past ADP. So just in the purpose of trying to have a little bit of a unique build. And we have to at least have one guy with Patrick Mahomes here to try to capture some spike weeks when we need them in the fantasy football playoff tournament. So let's go ahead and let's take Marquez Valdez-Scantling with Mahomes. It would have been great to have Rashee Rice and Marquez Valdez-Scantling there in the turn, but sadly, Rashee Rice went significantly ahead of ADP. He went at pick 137. Not going to blame the team who decided to take Rice there. I mean, I think Rice is underrated in these drafts in general. I'm sure y'all have seen me a lot, especially over the past week. It seems like even when I don't have Mahomes at the 12-13 turn, in a lot of these drafts, I'm pairing up Rashee Rice and MVS because I do like Rashee Rice's price point. Okay. But let's move this over. Love Star says, I love weekly winners. So fun. Yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of people that love weekly winners. And I was so excited about it the first day that it launched. And I do think that it's still a super cool format. But I just realized after drafting like 3 or 4 teams and thinking about so many different variables, it's like, I don't know the correct way to approach this. Like, it's not solved. And the ideas that I have on what could be ideal for those weekly winners drafts are so far away from what everybody else is doing. And I'm not arrogant enough to think that I know so much more than everybody else, that everybody else is right and I'm wrong. I'm sorry, that I'm right and everybody else is wrong. In reality, it's probably vice versa, right? Reality, I'm probably wrong. Everybody else is probably right. So I'd rather wait in off season and see how it plays out. Okay. Now we have Tyler Algier off the board at 155. Swing this back around. So we are just quarterback wide receiver from here on out. So if you're looking at this draft, I actually really do like this draft outside of us not getting that Chiefs wide receiver making it to us. But regardless, wide receiver, we have Chase, Christian Kirk, Juju Smith-Schuster, Nico Collins, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Running back, we have Saquon Barkley, Joe Mixon, Damian Pierce, Dalvin Cook, Jamal Williams. Quarterback, we have Mahomes. Tight end, we have Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram. So I like this team. Okay. Steven says, does Melvin Gordon make any difference to J.K. Dobbins in Baltimore? I would say I'm a little more hesitant to draft J.K. Dobbins based on the addition of Melvin Gordon in that offense. Not for the reason that I think Melvin Gordon's going to have some large role in Baltimore and J.K. Dobbins is going to be relegated to committee back. No, I don't think that. But what I do think is it kind of tells us what they're thinking. You know, it gives us a little insight of what that team may be looking at with J.K. Dobbins. So I'm not worried about Melvin Gordon having some super large role, but I'm more so worried about what it may say about Dobbins himself. Now, you have KJ Osborne going off the board here. I would have been ecstatic to have KJ Osborne. So it is what it is. If we would have had Osborne there at the 14-15 turn on a team that's so desperate for a wide receiver, it would have been great. But, I mean, can't bank on that over and over again. Shaheed goes 162. I think we could have set ourselves up with the ability to go like Derek Carr, Shaheed at the 14-15 turn and set ourselves up with like a pseudo New Orleans Saints double stack, but that's no longer going to be an option. Okay. Tajay Spears goes great for us, right? Let's see what this team does. They go Jerome Ford. So hell yes, we're going to get Alec Pierce down here, pick 167. I mean, this is about 13 picks past ADP. It's exactly what we need. We need wide receivers making up past ADP on a team where a wide receiver 3 is Juju Smith-Schuster. Derek Carr goes 168. Is that team's third quarterback? Donovan Peoples-Jones goes as well. Do we take Tim Patrick? I'm not a big Patrick guy, but if you look at the Underdog player props, I mean, they actually have Tim Patrick sitting at a ridiculous 540 receiving yards. Like, this is more than they have Elijah Moore for. This is about the same as what they have with like Zay Flowers. They have Zay Flowers at 599. They have Quentin Johnston at 599 as well. So, I don't know. They're putting Tim Patrick in a similar range. Maybe we see some spike weeks. Obviously, you have the in-division 2 games as well between the Broncos as well as the Chiefs if you really wanted to talk about bringbacks. But let's go ahead and let's move this over. And y'all know I'm not a big Courtland Sutton guy, right? But of course, if y'all want to see another draft, make sure you go down there, drop a like on this live stream. We're going to be streaming every single day until 2024, these Underdog best ball drafts. So if you want to get in one with us, you can find the link to Underdog in the live chat in the description in the comment section. Sign up with promo code FLOCK, and they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. Plus, you're going to get our 2023 fantasy football rankings, a free trial to flockfantasy.com. And this is the same site that has all those player props, right? So even if you don't want to get in a draft, you want to check out those player props. Can on Underdog. Okay. Raheem Moss off the board. Just want to see running backs getting drafted. Running backs, tight ends going off. Great for us. So if we're looking at quarterbacks that can possibly correlate with our team, Desmond Ridder with Kyle Pitts is always an option. Mac Jones with Juju Smith-Schuster is always an option. CJ Stroud pairing him up with Nico Collins as well as Damian Pierce is always an option. Shoe Bubbard goes 178. Tyquan Thornton 179. I would have been very excited about having Tyquan Thornton make it back around to us because with Juju Smith-Schuster, it would have made our decision easily to go like Tyquan Thornton and then Mac Jones, right? But not able to have that easy decision. Nothing's ever able to be easy, but it is what it is. Jeff Wilson off the board. Jack says, do you know who's starting at running back for Miami? Based off our draft here, hopefully Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook goes to Minnesota. This could be a $3 million team. Obviously, coulda, woulda, shoulda. But that's kind of what we're doing here if it's going to be a $25 buy-in, $3 million first place prize, right? Pretty much playing the coulda, woulda, shoulda game. One thing is, if we want to take our quarterback, we're not going to have to do so at pick 191. We know that team at 192 with Burrow, Rodgers, Carr can't take another quarterback. So we can essentially just guarantee ourselves that quarterback at pick 194. We are QB wide receiver, ladies and gentlemen. QB wide receiver. Gus Edwards goes. Gesicki off the board. Cordell Patterson is, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take Jaden Reed. I mean, not too much thoughts going into this pick. We need a wide receiver. He makes it 20 picks past his ADP. Generally, we know those rookies have access to asymmetrical upside, just given the uncertain projection that they have going into that next season. So we'll go ahead and we'll take Jaden Reed with a bunch of uncertainty. Here's our wide receiver, I believe, 8. And then we're going to take a quarterback as well. We're going to go CJ Stroud, pair him up with Nico Collins, as well as Dameon Pierce. And then our last pick is either going to be a quarterback or a wide receiver. Wouldn't hate going with like a Desmond Ridder and then all of a sudden possibly sneaking a Patrick Mahomes team into the playoffs if anything happens during the season. But yeah, we're going to go CJ Stroud here at quarterback. And then our last pick is either going to be wide receiver or QB. But I had dinner plans with the girlfriend, which is why we started this live stream a little bit earlier so we could go 2 hours. But we are most likely going to have to cut this live stream here, ladies and gentlemen. But let me go ahead and show you all this team nonetheless. We're at pick 2. Really like the build. I think it's a very unique team, to say the least. And of course, saying it's a very unique team is another way of saying it's a very bad team. But nonetheless, I'll try to make it sound a little better than it is. And of course, if y'all want to get into our draft with us tomorrow, the next day, the day after, the day after, the day after, the link to Underdog Fantasy is in the live chat. It's in the description. With promo code FLOCK, you get a 100% deposit match, plus our 2023 fantasy football rankings at a free trial to flockfantasy.com. Best ball, so no time commitment at all during the year. That's why it's the best place to get in some extra fantasy football drafts besides the one that you care about most. But yeah, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Really, really do appreciate y'all. Really hope that we get to see you out with a live stream tomorrow night, and hope that you have a great night.